witness the practice of mysterious rituals in the once forbidden kingdom of Tibet. Manipulate a computer that performs photographic magic. Discover how the Chinese solved the problem of crowded graveyards in Hong Kong.
Welcome. I'm waiting for you.
Operate a voice-controlled computer simply by pointing at the screen.
There.
Go ahead.
Dive into a tank to witness the rare birth of a whale in captivity. Explore the possibilities of a computer that works just by looking at it.
Your eyes in focus.
Examine the mummies of long-dead Eskimos in an effort to resolve an ancient mystery. The strange, the bizarre, the unexpected. These are the kinds of subjects a man named Robert L. Ripley challenged us to
believe it or not.
This is a river of gold, the American River, in California's Sacramento Valley. The gold is mixed with the sand and gravel carried by the current down from the Sierra Nevada mountains to the east. Of course, the first settlers who came here in the 1840s didn't know about the gold.
Among those early pioneers was a Swiss immigrant named John Sutter. He hoped the fort he built would become the nucleus of a new city, Sutterville. The community he envisioned would be pious, peaceful, and substantial. To create it, he needed building materials. Sutter set up a sawmill like this to create the lumber to build his dream community. To get the lumber to supply the mill, he sent men up here to the forests bordering the American River. Then, on the morning of January 24th, 1848, one of Sutter's men saw something flashing and glittering in the water. A lump, the size of a pea, or bigger. It looked like gold. He put it on a rock, then took another rock and pounded it. A lot of things look like gold, but when you hit them, they shatter. Pounding gold only flattens it. This was gold, but for Sutter, the discovery meant disaster. A frenzied, ever-growing flood of people surged into the area as the sensational news flashed around the world. Hoping to scoop gold from the river, the prospectors wanted to make quick, easy fortunes. They had no interest in the long, hard work of building a city. Sutter's land was soon overrun by these men who went where they wanted and did as they pleased in their pursuit of instant riches. Sutter had gone deeply into debt to begin his dream community. Now, because his farming and ranching enterprises had come to a halt, he left Sutterville and went up to the American River to do some prospecting himself. Some men have the knack for finding gold, and some just don't. Sutter found almost nothing and lost everything to his creditors. He eventually died, bitter and broke, a man whose dream had been destroyed by the greatest gold rush in history. As for Sutterville, well, Sutter's ideas about its potential had been right all along. Under the ownership of other men, Sutterville grew up to become Sacramento, the capital city of California. The Golden State. Believe it or not.
history of aviation, one airplane holds a remarkable distinction: the DC-3. It is one of the first airplanes made completely out of metal, and it is proven to be virtually indestructible. The first one was built in 1935, and the last one rolled off the production line in the late 1940s.
Many of them are still airborne, as reliable now as when they first inspired classic motion picture adventures. From up here, audiences could see more than just a high-altitude view. They could be transported into another world. One of the most memorable of such journeys began in one of these, in China. In the film Lost Horizon, a revolution provided the starting place for an exciting adventure. To escape certain death, a group of people attempted to fly over the treacherous Himalaya mountains.
Everybody all right? Yeah.
Rescued by mysterious monks, the victims of the crash survived. Their journey would not end until they reached a mysterious place of peace and plenty. The film's hero, portrayed by Ronald Colman, discovered a garden of paradise surrounded by ice and snow.
Welcome to Shangri-La.
Shangri-La. It became an enduring myth, but it is based on fact. Such a high mountain kingdom exists. For centuries, it remained isolated, protected by a ring of virtually impenetrable mountains. It is called Tibet, and this is its capital city, Lhasa, which means abode of the gods. The streets of Lhasa in the 1940s reflected the spiritual tranquility of the Shangri-La legend. In 1,300 years of splendid isolation, the Tibetan people had developed a unique culture dominated by a Buddhist religion called Lamaism. The prayer wheel is one symbol of their faith. A prayer is inscribed inside each revolving drum. With each spin, the faithful are convinced they are advanced 1 year closer to ultimate immortality. Since Tibetan Buddhists believe they must endure multiple reincarnations before achieving the nirvana of final oblivion, the prayer wheels rarely stop. Some are turned day and night by monks who do nothing else. At one time, 1 out of every 3 men in Tibet was a monk. The Drepang Monastery near Lhasa was home for nearly 10,000 of them. Some began their monastic careers before they were 5 years old. By entering the monastery, young monks gained prestige for their families and for themselves, an opportunity for education and advancement. The devotion to the teachings of Buddha is at the center of Tibetan life. Founded on religion, the nation was ruled by a god king believed to be a reincarnation of the living Buddha and governed by monks steeped in the traditions of ancient ritual. Announced by the blare of ceremonial trumpets, a rare appearance of the Dalai Lama, the God King of Tibet, was chronicled in 1949. Led by generals in ceremonial robes, the parade included an honor guard of 1,000 soldiers costumed in ancient armor. For the citizens of Lhasa, it was a major occasion. It provided them with a chance to get a glimpse of the young boy whom they believed was the 14th reincarnation of a god whose spirit entered into the founders of their hidden kingdom over 1,300 years ago. As a royal residence, the Potala Palace dominates the city of Lhasa. For devout pilgrims, the ancient castle is the spiritual center of the nation. They come to make a circuit completely around the massive structure, prostrating themselves at every step. Those who perform the ritual believe it will magnify their good deeds in the eyes of the living Buddha. Constructed to shelter a living god, the Potala Palace required over 50 years and 7,000 laborers to build. In Tibetan, its name means high heavenly realm. The treasure it protected included the earthly remains of 8 previous Dalai Lamas. Their bodies were preserved by being dried in salt, covered in gold, and encased within these massive monuments. They were encrusted with diamonds, rubies, and other precious jewels. This one, honoring the 5th Dalai Lama, was covered with 7 tons of gold. The spiritual wealth of Tibet, however, is contained in the pages of these ancient books. They preserve the words of the past that perhaps foretell the future. In one, there is a particularly fascinating prophecy made in the 8th century. When iron birds fly and horses run on wheels, the Tibetan people will be scattered like ants across the face of the earth. In 1950, the prophecy became fact when news reached Lhasa that China had invaded Tibet. In the past, the mountains had been sufficient to discourage invasion. Now, to defend themselves, the Tibetans had little more than their faith. To rally religious fervor, the installation of the 15-year-old Dalai Lama was hurriedly organized. His elevation to exalted rank, however, did not forestall the approach of the Chinese. For the monks who administered the government, concern for the safety of the Dalai Lama became so overwhelming that they consulted the state oracle. They believed that while in a trance, the gods would speak through him. In full ceremonial regalia, including a 90-pound headdress, the oracle delivered an unwelcome answer. The Dalai Lama, he said, should leave Tibet. The Dalai Lama accepted the decision. He was accompanied into exile by an army of servants and material possessions sufficient to burden the backs of 1,500 pack animals. After crossing the Tsangpo River, the expedition followed an ancient trade route toward northern India. Their destination lay beyond the Himalayas, 1,000 miles from Lhasa and the comforts of the Potala Palace. During the journey, every spot where the young Dalai Lama paused to rest became a sacred shrine. As a god king, he had been forced to abandon his throne. But to his followers, his presence had lost none of its power. To join him in exile, nearly 100,000 Tibetans voluntarily risked their lives on the treacherous mountain trails. In Dharamsala, India, the Dalai Lama ultimately found sanctuary. He now rules a miniature kingdom, a symbolic 2-acre domain that represents the vast, mysterious empire he left behind. He remains in exile as the spiritual leader of faithful Tibetans. It is unlikely, however, that he will ever return to the legendary land where he was venerated as a living god. In Tibet, the timeless monuments raised to honor a feudal kingdom remain intact. They still haunt the imagination, for if ever there was such a place, this was Shangri-La.
You know it makes me wanna shout.
Shout. Babies love things to play with. So if you're going for a visit, it can be fun for you and the baby to take along a toy like this. Oh, this is a very special kind of nursery with some very special babies. This little one is about 4 months old. She's a baby orangutan. This is the nursery of the San Diego Zoo, and she's just one of the animals they're taking care of here. That's Segovo and Siazan. They're baby North China tigers. They were born a month ago, so they're still too small to be cuddled by visitors, unfortunately. When they're fully grown, they'll be about 7 feet long and weigh over 600 pounds apiece.
The babies, including this rare pygmy hippo, are put in the nursery for different reasons. Some are ill. Some need special attention because their mothers neglected them.
This is one of the newest members of the family. She's a baby tapir. Around here, they call her the little watermelon, and she gets plenty of attention. Although you have to admit she has a face only a dedicated zookeeper or a mother could love.
The Vancouver Aquarium gives scientists the chance to study the beluga whale and collect information vital to its protection in the wild. Like most whales, the beluga communicates by using a variety of complex sounds. For biologist Stephanie Hewlett, observation of the belugas became almost a full-time occupation. In time, her patients would be rewarded with a rare, dramatic event. Kavna, a female, was pregnant. Because no captive beluga had yet given birth successfully, the staff was particularly concerned. They didn't know when Kavna had become pregnant. Therefore, they couldn't even estimate the birth date. The tension grew as the weeks passed, and Kavna became obviously well advanced. The birth could come at any moment, and by chance, Stephanie Hewlett was there.
Well, on this afternoon, I was down there, and just about ready to call it a day and go home, and she just drifted into the middle of the pool.
Labor had begun, but with a complication. Baby whales usually emerge tail first. Any variation could mean a stillbirth.
A few minutes after 9, we realized that the baby was being born head first. Everything was going so beautifully, and then all of a sudden, here was a head first birth, and I really thought it was dead. Just before 10 to 10, the baby was delivered right up to the pectoral fins, and then it opened its mouth and it wagged its head. It was so fast. It was just so fast. It was just sort of pump, pop, and gone, and just so vigorous, like a little worm.
At the surface, the baby took its first breath of air and then began to nurse. The first successful birth in captivity made this newborn whale a very special creature. Because belugas usually inhabit Arctic waters, the baby was given an Eskimo name. He was called Tuak, which means the only one. The cycles of birth and death occur here as nature dictates. This is the Serengeti National Park in East Africa, a vast wilderness preserve. A mother cheetah carries her young to a new hiding place each day to avoid leaving a strong scent in any one spot. Because the male never stays with the family, she must raise the cubs by herself. When she goes out for food, they will be defenseless. Their survival depends on their concealment. Any predator finding the cubs alone would make a quick meal of them. At the age of 6 months, a cub plays the games that teach how to stalk and pounce and fight. By the time it is a year old, a cheetah is ready to learn how to kill. A herd of Thompson's gazelle offers the opportunity for a lesson. This is a training exercise, and the mother is looking not for an adult gazelle, but for one that is young and small. Now that the prey has been chosen, the mother demonstrates how to approach. The mother only stuns the gazelle so that her cub can perfect its hunting technique. Confidence in a new skill can lead to a dangerous encounter when wildebeest tempt young cheetahs. Wildebeest are powerful animals capable of surprising speed. The young cheetahs learn how quickly the hunter can become the hunted. Such defeats are not uncommon. Even mature cheetahs fail more often than they succeed. In the wild, survival depends as much on perseverance as on skill.
The kiwi bird is about the size of a chicken, but lays an egg 10 times as large. Believe it or not.
back in time for dinner.
Okay.
In 1910, this hit the market. The Family Fearless Dishwasher. You just put the dishes in here, along with about a gallon of water. Then you add the soap. Close it up. And start cranking. The Family Fearless Dishwasher did not come equipped with a motor. You had to do this for about 10 minutes. Then drain out the soapy water, put in another gallon of clean water, and crank for another 10 minutes. It was a good idea that needed a bit more work, but it's an example of the inventive pioneering that's taken us from horse and buggy gadgets like this to the high-tech world of the 20th century. Through the years, inventors have been preoccupied with improving the automobile. A fifth wheel for increased maneuverability is a development that has appeared several times in automotive history. With it, a car can pivot into the tightest parking space. The fifth wheel worked, all right, but its bulky mechanism made it impractical. Inventor Horatio Kesterbilt's fan-cooled straw hat was another idea that didn't quite catch on. Common problems often inspired ingenious solutions. A turn of the switch started a soothing lullaby, and something else as well. With Dr. Baruch's automatic cradle, mother and child slept in peace. Today's inventions go far beyond the merely mechanical. Sophisticated electronics create visual magic. In a hypothetical case, 2 members of a board of directors have left a company and must be eliminated from a group photograph. To do this, the image is first scanned by a laser beam, then stored as electronic data in a complex computer. Now, with a method called digital image processing, a skilled operator can do more than just eliminate parts of a picture. Scanning both the unwanted element and other portions of the frame allows him to replace the removed image with an appropriate background. It is electronic painting. Magnifying the image permits fine finishing work and the elimination of any rough edges. Only another computer can discover the completed alterations. To the unaided eye, they are undetectable. The changes made with this system can be subtle but effective. An art director, unhappy with the color of a model's eyes, can break the picture down into its building block elements and replace shades of green with shades of blue. An effect that used to take hours of painstaking work can be achieved in minutes. The system is not limited to altering human appearance. It can transform the familiar skyline of Manhattan. After the existing buildings and their locations have been scanned and stored, almost anything can happen. Once the world's tallest skyscraper, the Empire State Building easily regains its title by doubling its size. For the disabled, new inventions provide new opportunities. Jane Walters, who was left almost totally paralyzed by polio, now hopes to achieve financial self-sufficiency by becoming a computer programmer. At the Vocational Rehabilitation Center in Pittsburgh, she will learn to use an extraordinary tool. It will give her the power to operate a computer without touching it. It is called the iTyper.
Okay, let's go through the calibration sequence here. The H, the delete, the 9, the 1, A.
A camera in the keyboard focuses itself on Jane's eyes.
Good, calibration looks good. Your eye's in focus. Good. The lens is picking everything up.
The camera tracks the movement of Jane's eyes and records each letter as she looks at it.
Okay, why don't you start with the line number 50 and a space.
The iTyper lets
And the
Jane
word
do
hello.
more than select letters.
Hello?
Features such as a tab position enable her to space and punctuate, just as on an ordinary keyboard.
Now do the next line, line 60. Hi, my name is Jane.
The red light means Jane has looked at a letter long enough for the iTyper's computer to record it. After less than a second, she can go on to the next letter, and her name, Jane.
Okay, end of the line, activate the return key, and that'll make the computer understand what you're typing.
On I command, the computer prints out the sentence Jane has written.
See what the computer has to say. I'll leave you the book.
Now that Jane has mastered the basics, she can continue studying on her own and pursue a career in computer programming. With determination and persistence, there's no limit to what Jane might achieve while in command of the iTyper. At the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, scientists work with a video computer system that seems to be a product of science fiction.
Welcome. I'm waiting for you.
Pay attention.
Go ahead.
Create a red oil tanker.
Where?
There. Put a blue cruise ship
Where?
east of the Bahamas. Create a magenta trawler.
Where?
There.
Like the computer HAL in the motion picture 2001,
Where?
this system seems to have human characteristics. One of its computers senses where the operator is pointing. Another understands his verbal commands.
Where?
A third talks back.
South of Jamaica.
And a fourth carries out the instructions.
Make that yellow. Move that
Where?
north of Haiti.
Where?
Haiti. Put that
Where?
there.
Although it's still experimental, this system is evidence of the astounding potential of the computer revolution.
I'm waiting for you.
Journey to the home of imagination when Masters of Fantasy takes you to
One to a customer. Certainly that's all most people need when the item in question is a tombstone or a grave marker. However, there is the case of Henry G. Wooldridge, born January 29th, 1822, died May 30th, 1899, here in Mayfield, Kentucky. Wooldridge may be gone, but he made sure he wouldn't be forgotten. His profession was horse trading, his passion was hunting. Here, he's astride his favorite hunting mount, Fop, and these represent his hounds. They and Wooldridge were frequently in hot pursuit of fox and deer. Wooldridge was a lifelong bachelor, but apparently he had a strong love of family. This commemorates his mother. These honor his brothers, his sisters, even his grandnieces are remembered. Wooldridge himself lies buried here, under this carving of a favorite shotgun. As for the rest of the statues, well, no one else lies buried in this plot. No one. All of this is for the late Henry G. Wooldridge, a crowded testament to a family and life he loved. One permanent resident and 17 monuments.
In the densely populated city of Hong Kong, a lavish use of space would be unthinkable. Land must be carefully rationed, even for the dead. Workers spend as much time digging people up as they do burying them. 7 years is the maximum stay permitted. Regardless of wealth or fame, the deceased must be removed so that someone else can be buried in the plot. The bones taken from the graves are spread out in the sun. The daily exposure is part of a purification process. Each night, they will be returned to their bags. In the morning, they will be put out again in a process that can take as long as a week. The turnover is constant, but careful numbering and tagging ensure the bones that belong together stay together. Most of the remains are destined for one of the structures called Fo Tsang Dong Chong. They look like office buildings, but they are multi-storied cemeteries. Instead of going to a graveyard, relatives come here to pay their respects. Each of the 7,000 wall crypts becomes a small but permanent home for the bones which have been reduced to ashes by cremation. The House of the Dead is a place of constant activity. Though this is the end of the journey for the deceased, they are still part of the family. According to the tenets of ancient belief, they still enjoy the companionship, the food, and the incense of a family feast. The constant visiting of thousands of crypts by thousands of relatives means that in this cemetery, the dead rest in peace, if not in quiet. A place of utter solitude, deep within the Arctic Circle, proved to be an extraordinary burial site. This bay in Greenland is called the Place of Little Heaven, and scientists came here to investigate reports of a mysterious, shallow grave. It lay in the shelter of an overhanging ledge. The archaeologists knew this might be an opportunity to investigate another time, another world. Uncovering an ancient grave is always a moment of tense drama. The site can be empty, or it can hold a sensational find. The discovery surpassed all expectations. This was the mummy of an Eskimo woman naturally preserved by the sub-zero weather. She died more than 500 years ago, well before Columbus discovered the New World. Within minutes, a second body was uncovered, and then a third. Eventually, 8 were found, 6 women and 2 children. All of them and their clothing were in a remarkable state of preservation. There was no obvious cause of death, and the mystery was deepened by 2 other facts. There were no men here, and no other graves in the area. The mummies were taken to a Danish laboratory usually reserved for criminal investigations. Because the bodies were so well preserved, they could be given conventional autopsies. X-rays revealed evidence of various injuries and diseases. Faded, but still visible, tattoos were evidence that the impulse to enhance appearance is a universal human trait. The bodies also offer the opportunity to study living conditions as they were 500 years ago. Analysis of hair samples revealed far lower levels of toxic pollutants than in modern Greenlanders. 1/3 as much mercury and 1/8 as much lead. Further examination of the hair also found perfectly preserved ancient lice. Some of the evidence was particularly tantalizing because it indicated what the Eskimos were doing in their last days. Even small details had meaning. Fresh cuts in this woman's fingernails were made by the knife she was using to make clothes and boots from fur. The most intriguing questions about the elaborately dressed women and children could not be answered. Why were they buried in such an isolated area? How had they died? The mystery of their final hours would remain shrouded in the past forever. It was almost as if the Eskimos, wearing their fine, carefully made clothing, were time travelers. They had survived the centuries not to tell us how they died, but how they had lived. They have come and gone, but they are remembered, the people of the place called Little Heaven.
The sound we make when we speak is the result of one very basic thing, which has nothing to do with the language we speak or any training we may have had. We sound the way we do because of the air we breathe. It is air that makes our vocal cords vibrate and makes our voices sound the way they do. But suppose you didn't breathe the air, but something else, like helium. It's a harmless gas that is lighter than air. It's what makes balloons go up and up. And if I inhale just a little bit of it, it will make my voice go up and up. Listen.
Believe it or not. Wow.
Join Kevin Sorbo, star of Hercules: The Legendary Journeys, for an exclusive behind-the-scenes look at this summer's next big screen adventure. See the making of Kull the Conqueror tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern. Now, travel the world in search of the supernatural on Mysteries, Magic, and Miracles. Sci-Fi Channel next.